2311 Racing just announced a third car for 2027. Nobody asked why? Until now. Tyler Reddick won 5 of the first 9 races of 2026. Heim was officially announced full-time in the number 35 Toyota for 2027. And Bubba Wallace, the man who has been the face of the number 23 car since this team's very first race, is expected to return. No extension announcement. No press conference. No signed deal made public. Just expected. One of these 3 drivers has a signed multi-year deal already on the books. One just received one. And one is still waiting. Which one do you think that is? That one quiet word, expected, is what has NASCAR fans reading insider reports twice, rewinding press conference clips, and filling comment sections with questions that nobody at 2311 Racing has officially answered yet. This is that story. When 2311 Racing announced it was fielding a third full-time car for the 2027 NASCAR Cup Series season, most of the coverage focused on who was coming in. And understandably so. Heim is one of the most talked about young talents in the sport, and his promotion to the number 35 Toyota felt like the natural next step in a carefully managed development path. The headlines celebrated the addition. Very few stopped to examine what the addition actually meant for the drivers already there. Here is what the 2027 lineup at 2311 looks like right now. Tyler Reddick in the number 45, locked in with a multi-year extension signed in April 2026. Heim in the number 35, officially announced full-time on May 30th, 2026, at Nashville's Superspeedway. And Bubba Wallace in the number 23, operating on an option year, with no publicly confirmed contract extension as of mid-2026. That is the lineup. 3 drivers. 3 cars. 2 confirmed deals. 1 contract status that remains publicly unresolved. 2311 Racing started in 2021 as a 2-car championship operation. It was built around Wallace and then expanded when Reddick arrived in 2023. Adding a third car is not unprecedented in NASCAR. Plenty of organizations run 3 or more entries. But the timing of this expansion, arriving at the exact moment one of its existing drivers is in the worst statistical stretch of his time with the team, is what has made the question impossible to ignore. Why does a 2-car championship team suddenly need a third seat? And why now? To understand the full picture at 2311, you have to start with Tyler Reddick, because what Reddick has done in 2026 makes one thing completely clear: his seat is not a conversation anyone is having. Reddick opened the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season by winning each of the year's first 3 races, becoming the first driver in NASCAR history to accomplish that feat since 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt Sr. in 1987. He won the Daytona 500. He went on to claim 5 victories in the first 9 races of the season, a run that put his name alongside some of the greatest statistical starts in NASCAR history. On April 26, 2026, before the season had even reached its halfway point, Reddick announced a multi-year extension to remain at 2311 Racing as driver of the number 45 Toyota. The announcement came during the Fox pre-race show ahead of the race at Talladega's Superspeedway, a fitting stage for a driver who had been dominating since the very first green flag of the year. At one point in the season, Reddick held a 122-point championship lead. He also earned his 2,000th lap led in the Cup Series in a March 22 win at Darlington Raceway, adding another milestone to what was already becoming a historic season. Denny Hamlin, co-owner of 2311 Racing, had been direct about why he went after Reddick in the first place when he signed him away from Richard Childress Racing back in 2022. Franchise drivers don't come around that often. And so if there's ever one that you feel like you can grab, you go after it. That quote aged well. One seat at 2311 Racing is completely locked. The number 45 is not part of any conversation about the future of this team's lineup. It is settled. The third car announcement on May 30th, 2026 was not random. It was the result of a deliberate, multi-year development plan that 2311 had been building quietly since 2024. Heim joined the team as a reserve driver in 2024, competing in 1 race at Nashville's Superspeedway while also racing in 13 NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series events. In 2025, his role expanded to 4 Cup starts, including a 6th-place finish in the fall race at Bristol Motor Speedway. By 2026, his schedule had grown to 12 Cup Series starts, making him one of the most active part-time drivers in the field. The resume backing that development path is significant. Heim has 25 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series victories since 2022, making him the fourth most prolific winner in Truck Series history at the time of his Cup promotion. He is a two-time Truck Series regular season champion and won the 2025 Truck Series championship, capping off his final full-time season in that series with the title. Hamlin was not understated when he described what he believes Heim brings to the table. "Generational drivers only come by every now and then, and I firmly believe that we have one here," Hamlin said at the Nashville announcement. "So I'm really excited about what he's going to bring our team and the performance that he's going to bring. And obviously his work ethic is very, very good." Heim himself spoke about what being part of 23XI means to him. "I've only started 11 races at 23XI Racing, but I really feel like that is my home, and these people treat me very well." The third car was not built because 23XI needed to fill a gap. It was built because Denny Hamlin identified a driver he believes can compete at a championship level, invested 3 years in developing him, and then handed him a full-time ride. The number 35 belongs to Heim in 2027. That decision was made long before the announcement at Nashville. Bubba Wallace opened 2026 with momentum. His early season numbers showed a driver ready to push toward the front of the 23XI lineup. But as the season progressed, the form that defined that strong start disappeared. As of June 2026, Wallace had posted 338 points, 6 top 10 finishes, and only 1 top 5 across the season, with an average finishing position of 18.429. Over his last 6 races at that point, he ranked 29th in the entire field with an average finish of 22.2. That stretch included a 4-race window where he finished 20th or worse in 3 of them, accounting for just 34 points across those 4 events combined. He is also carrying 12 DNFs dating back to last season, a number that reflects not just bad luck but a pattern of races ending earlier than they should. By mid-2026, Wallace sat 13th in the Cup Series standings, holding a 69-point cushion above the chase cut line. That sounds safe. But it represents a dramatic fall from the second-place position he held in the standings earlier in the year. And the trend line, 6 races averaging a 22.2 finish, is pointed in the wrong direction. Compare that to his teammate. Reddick has been rewriting NASCAR history. Heim, in part-time appearances, has already recorded a 6th-place Cup finish. And Wallace, the longest-tenured driver at 23XI, is in the worst statistical stretch of his time with the organization. He brought this team its first-ever win at Talladega Superspeedway in the fall of 2021. He won again at Kansas Speedway in 2022. He made the NASCAR playoffs for the first time in his career in 2023, ranking 10th in the final standings. He signed a multi-year extension in September 2024 after describing the previous 2 seasons plainly. "I got my ass kicked the last 2 seasons, plain and simple." He arrived at 2026 with the expectation that this would be the year the results matched the potential. Right now, the results are not matching that expectation. And that is the one variable inside 23XI Racing's 2027 picture that is still unresolved. When Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports, one of the most credentialed and reliable insiders covering NASCAR, reported on Wallace's status for 2027, the language he used was precise. Pockrass reported that Wallace is expected to return in the number 23 car for 23XI Racing in 2027. That is a direct, on-record insider statement from a source with a proven track record of accurate 23XI coverage. It is not speculation. It is not a rumor. It is reporting. But here is what that report did not include. A confirmed contract extension. A signed deal. A formal team announcement. A press release from 23XI. Nothing equivalent to what Reddick received on April 26 or what Heim received on May 30. Denny Hamlin, when asked about driver futures for 2027, gave a response that revealed exactly how much he is willing to say publicly right now. Questions about drivers' futures are something I'm not focused on right this second. That is not a confirmation. It is also not a denial. It is a deliberate non-answer from a team co-owner who, when he has wanted to make something official, has made it official, as demonstrated by the Reddick extension announcement and the Heim full-time promotion. No credentialed NASCAR insider has reported that Wallace's seat is in jeopardy. No reporter with access to 2311 has written that he is being pushed out. What exists is a gap, the distance between expected and confirmed. And that gap is exactly where the speculation is living right now. Here is where the story gets complicated, because the obvious framework, declining driver, rising star, third car as a hedge, does not fully capture what is actually happening inside 2311 racing. Wallace and Reddick have been teammates since 2023, and their relationship on the racetrack has repeatedly demonstrated something that is rare in professional motorsport. They race for each other, not against each other. At Kansas Speedway in April 2026, during the overtime restart that sealed Reddick's 5th win of the season, Wallace was running directly behind him and described exactly what he was attempting to do. "Oh yeah, I'm like the 11. Run the 45 up. Let me sneak through and do that," Wallace said. "I definitely did. And then I thought we were going to be able to capitalize, but it wasn't meant to be." Reddick, when asked about Heim joining the full-time roster, had this to say about his incoming teammate. "I'm not quite sure how he does it different, but he does go about it in a different way. And the more that I'm around him, I get to understand that. I feel like some of his strengths are stronger than mine." And Wallace himself, when asked about Heim, was direct. "He'll be competitive for sure. He'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for him. He's come to me for a lot of questions and advice over the last couple years that we've worked together. It's been really good." None of that reads like a locker room under tension. None of it suggests a team drifting apart internally. But the business side of NASCAR and the friendships side do not always follow the same timeline. 2311 racing is expanding. Reddick is locked in. Heim is confirmed. Wallace is expected. And expected, in the language of professional sports contracts, is not the same word as confirmed. Is 2311 simply growing its program around a generational talent the way any ambitious organization would? Absolutely possible. Is Heim's arrival quietly constructing a development pipeline that reshapes the team's long-term roster beyond 2027? Also possible. Does Wallace's continued absence from any formal extension announcement, set against the backdrop of his worst recent statistical stretch at 2311, create a legitimate question about where this is heading? Yes. It does. Nothing in the confirmed reporting says Bubba Wallace is losing his seat. But nothing rules it out either. And that gap, between what insiders are saying and what the team has formally announced, is exactly what NASCAR fans are sitting inside right now, waiting for an answer that has not come yet. Drop a comment. Is Wallace's seat safe, or is 2311 quietly building toward a change? Subscribe if you want the answer when it comes.